Greetings, friends of typography. If you are interested in typography, but you don't have a lot of experience yet, here are 7 typical mistakes you should avoid. Unfortunately, physical and virtual computer keyboards are still based on early typewriters, and therefore the proper typographic punctuation marks are not easy to reach. The use of these characters will depend on the language, and the keyboard shortcuts will depend on your operating system, so we can't go into too much detail. But we can show the appearance of these characters. Avoid quotation marks that look like this, and learn how to access the proper quotation marks. Don't use any of these characters as an apostrophe. This is how the apostrophe looks like. And remember the mnemonic, the apostrophe should look like the figure 9. Never use multiple period characters to signify an omission, and learn how to access the ellipsis, which is a single character made for this purpose. And learn the difference between hyphen, n-dash and m-dash, and learn how to access these characters on your keyboard. Never use a hyphen when an n-dash or m-dash would be required. Switching between different typefaces can be a good way to create a visual hierarchy or emphasis within a text. But don't overdo it. There is rarely a good reason to use more than 2 type families on one page. If you use too many fonts, they start to compete with each other for the reader's attention, and you turn an advantage into a disadvantage. Instead of guiding the readers, you create unnecessary distractions. And by the way, if you want to learn more about choosing and mixing fonts, check out the Typography.Guru Academy. We offer a free course called How to Choose and Pair Fonts. Script fonts have connecting characters to give the appearance of a handwritten text with continuous strokes. This only works correctly if you don't mess with the letter spacing in any way, so make sure the tracking is set to 0 and that the kerning embedded in the font is activated. And while we are dealing with script fonts, have a look at the available OpenType features. Professional script fonts will often come with lots of contextual ligatures and alternate characters, which can give the text a much more natural and interesting appearance. All you have to do is to turn these features on. Use the spacebar only to add a single space character between words. Never try to create white space in your layout by pressing the spacebar multiple times. And don't create empty lines to increase the space between paragraphs. You always want to keep the content and the appearance of a text separate. And to achieve that, you apply styling to paragraphs to create indentations, line spacing, and so on. And by the way, if you need alignments across multiple lines without using tables, you set a tabulator stop. Just as with the space character, never hit the tab key multiple times just to find a proper spot for your alignment. Set custom tab stops where you actually need them. The letters of letterpress fonts had to be cut for a specific size. As a result, their design would always be perfect for any given type size. Today, it's up to the font user to decide whether a scalable digital font is suitable for the size the font user chooses. Using a font for smaller sizes in larger sizes is not that much of a problem. It just means that the font is usually not as elegant and delicate as it could be. Have a look at this comparison. 2 styles of the same type family. The one on top was designed for smaller sizes. The one on the bottom was designed for a display use. See the difference? Using a design created for display use in smaller sizes will be highly problematic. The fine details, for example hairlines, will be scaled down and become too small to see. So, whenever you choose a font for copy text, make sure the design is robust enough for this type of use. The perfect line length will depend on the type of text and other typesetting parameters like the line spacing. The longer the line, the larger the line spacing needs to be, so readers can easily find the next line when they have finished reading the previous line. But make sure the line length is sufficient, especially when using justified lines. Laymen and beginners often like to use justified text because it creates a clean look for the text frames. But that doesn't mean that the text is legible. If the size of the spaces between words varies greatly, your line length is probably too small and needs to be increased. You can think of the letters in a font as the result of writing with a certain tool, whether it's a broad nib pen, a ballpoint pen, or something else. As a result, the strokes can be consistent or change between thin and thick. And the letters can be written more narrow or more wide. All of that is completely fine. But we shouldn't take the final result of this process, the image created by this kind of writing, and stretch or compress it as a whole. It will necessarily distort that natural rhythm the type designer aims for to simulate actual writing. With this stretching, the relationship between horizontal and vertical strokes will appear in an artificial way that looks uneven and unnatural. And it can also create legibility issues because necessary details get too small while other parts are overemphasized just based on which parts are along the axis used for stretching. So always use the letters in fonts as they are without stretching or compressing them in any way. This video was made possible by our supporters on Patreon. If you like this channel, join the support team today and get instant access to exclusive font downloads, articles, videos, and image galleries.